And for my listeners that have clicked on this conversation, what are they going to get out of giving us their time and staying with us and listening to this? What is the end goal going to be for them in their lives?
Listening to the way I talk to my patients and teach them the steps how to reverse the medical problems that you've already got on the roster. And by doing that, the freedom is to be the kind of grandparent that you dreamt of, but you've surrendered, can't be there anymore.
And what is the list of predicaments or illnesses that are relevant here?
Most common one is being overweight and a brain that's not working right. What really is behind all of the patients I've seen for 25 years is we're working on peak brain performance. Even if you don't think about that, that's what I think about. So when you come in and you're 55 years old and I can see the worry of Parkinson's headed your way, super young is 55 years old with Parkinson's. That is a brain that's got too much trash and you don't know it yet. And I mean, in the history of Dr. Boz versus Parkinson's has like 3,500 patients. I have 0. Parkinson's wins every time. And the biggest moment of people who have chronic problems under the hood is they have no idea that it's coming. And once that lands, the reversal is much worse. Seeing it 10 years before it's supposed to be there, this is a gift of saying, let me show you how to undo that. Back away from the edge. It's that brain function that you're going to miss the most when it doesn't work. And it's linked to all of these things like the arthritis, the weight around the middle, the high blood pressure, the severe connection to mental approach, meaning you can say depression, but people say, oh, I don't have that diagnosis. I'm talking about a brain that doesn't want to engage, that doesn't find joy in their life anymore because it's been too many years since they took out the trash. Let me show you how to take out the trash, and you're going to have to do it a few times. But what unfolds is your best life ahead within a year.
So you're going to teach me how to take out the trash?
Yeah.
The trash in my own brain?
Yep.
And if I take out the trash in my own brain, how is my life going to be better?
You live in the 21st century where there's lots of processed foods and lots of ways that your body did things without telling you. So any injury that you've had, like a joint injury that keeps coming back every time you injure it, it is a little easier to injure the next time. Is there a ring around the middle that's more than pinch an inch? Is there a distance in time where you say, I can focus for this many hours, but I can't do it for this many hours anymore? Those are all places where if you did this, if you were able to say, don't stop taking out the trash several times a year, several times a month, if you ask me, then you never have to come into this world that I just see people, they're in quicksand. They're up to their waist. And getting them out, they need a real lifeline.
And what are the current solutions people are typically offered when they're feeling, all the ways that you described there, where they just don't feel good, they have brain fog, they might have chronic pain setting in various ways? What are the typical solutions that Medicine 2.0 would offer them?
Yeah, especially if they have good insurance.
Yeah.
That doctor is going to be with the covered insurance plan, and he's going to say, tell me the symptoms. I have a matching game. I will give you the drugs that will take away that one and take away that one and take away that one. What is always a downside is, well, play that forward for 10 years. Play it forward for 5 years. And are the symptoms gone? No, but it will bridge and hold up the architecture of the body and the human without actually fixing the problem, without actually diving in and say, you got some chemistry problems under the hood that you don't measure and you don't talk about. But if you did, even if you're not perfect, even if you're 70%, you're going to find yourself at the age of 54 with vitality and energy and sleeping through the night and not having what every other 54-year-old, which is chronic joint pain, a brain that can only focus for 3 to 4 hours without a break, a stamina of endurance and health and joy that falls apart.
So you're 54 years old. When I'm 54 years old, I want to be as young and energetic and articulate and cognitively astute as you are. So what should I be doing now to make sure that I don't decay in all those areas I described?
Well, what'd you have for breakfast?
Today?
Yeah.
I have not eaten breakfast yet.
It's okay. That's not a bad thing. Okay. But when you're 54, you should probably put the calories in the morning, not at night. We know that as you age, the cost of a calorie turns into timing. If you eat that food, 1 bite of food after 6 o'clock is worth 10 bites of food before noon. So if you're trying to say, how do I get the best out of the nourishment, but also eating's fun, if you only get 1 bite after 6 o'clock and 10 before, move that food towards morning. When you're your age, what's the last meal you ate?
Yesterday?
Yeah.
For dinner, I had this cod and I had salad. I also had pasta.
Okay.
So, yeah. But I ate pretty late, which is a problem.
What did you have the rest of the day before that? Was that
Just
your first
a salad.
meal? Okay.
Just a big salad.
Was that more towards lunch or noon or?
Probably about 4 o'clock.
So waited all the way till 4 o'clock to eat. Very common. This is a really common pattern of people doing what we would say intermittent or time-restricted eating. They put that eating window in this, but it's got that balloon at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it really does. I mean, what you're stimulating is an excessive production of insulin, and you're going to wake up the next morning. What time did you wake up this morning?
Today, I went to bed relatively early for me. I woke up at about 7:30 a.m.
Oh,
Usually it's later.
And did you have a solid 7-8 hours of sleep or how?
Yeah.
So during that time,
Yeah.
you finish eating around 10 o'clock then it sounds like?
Yeah.
Okay, so then it's
Maybe a bit later.
Okay, so 11 o'clock and you've got 7:30 in the morning is when you woke up. So that's about 8 hours since you've eaten. Your insulin is still churning, especially if the meal was large and there was carbs in it. So now you've got these processed foods late at night, and you're at the beginning of the disease, right? You're at the beginning of the chronic inflammatory churn of how do you age faster and faster? You don't do that. You don't have high insulin throughout the night.
So can you explain to me, like I'm a 12-year-old, what insulin is and the role it's playing? Because, I guess we're focused here on longevity, aging for a second. But how does insulin play a role in all of this, and what is insulin?
So insulin insulates. Okay, so think of it as it makes you fluffy. It puts the fat on. It's got some other roles too, but we're going to talk about chronic diseases here where it's not a scarcity problem. You make plenty of it. And when it's in excess, it will store energy for when you go through a famine. It will also cause you to grow. Now, grow means get a little fatter, but it also means things like their skin gets a little thicker, they have skin tags, and what I always think about is what's going on in their brain. And when that insulin is high for years and years and years, just like yours, because if you didn't eat the rest of today, and then you got up tomorrow morning, it would be about that long after a late meal last night. That's how long it would take you to say, okay, we're back down to where we started from or where we should be in the morning.
For someone that's never heard the word insulin before, there's some context to give in terms of what it's doing. So it's coming out like a transporter and helping put away the sugar or deal with the excess sugar.
Right. So it is
Glucose.
what lifts glucose or sugar from the circulation into a cell. That's its first primary job. But if all the cells are full, their storage is full, it's going to start to pack it into the liver. I mean, let's say all those stores are full too. This job of insulin, this hormone, oozes into every part of your body to say, make sure it's got fuel, make sure it's got that sugar. But most people are like what I would guess you are. Most of the time, you aren't a shortage of sugar, and so it tops things off, and then it will turn things into fat. It's too much sugar. They can't store it. All the storage is full. So you can send the signal out, make me some more cells. I need some more storage units. This guy's eating more than he thinks he is. And we're going to be prepared to live through the famine. But in the meantime, turn it into fat. Make him a little fluffier.
Is that the only consequence of high insulin is that I might be a bit more fat?
No, that's just the one people hear about the most. When you look at chronic disease management, it is the growth of the diseases, of the inflammation. It's the making of the trash. So I keep saying, you need to take the trash out routinely, which means that insulin, which has been smoldering higher than you think it is, because you live in today's world, because you eat processed food, because you eat super late at night, you don't go 2 to 3 days without eating. You've got storage filled in your body. The high insulin levels in a healthy person hides that the debris is being made and you don't know it.
It hides it.
Yeah, it's going to put it in between 2 cells in your brain. It's going to put it in between the skin cells. The trash doesn't get taken out until the insulin gets lower. And unfortunately, most people have been making buckets of insulin without knowing it.
Why? What are they doing to create buckets of insulin? All the things you said about
Carbs, foods that comes from boxes and barcodes and bags instead of whole foods, instead of a fat-forward diet, which would then push that body into making ketones. So you cannot make a ketone if your insulin's high.
Are there any signs that I might have high levels of insulin or insulin resistance?
Abdominal girth is the first place that the fat goes. So you do this really great part where you don't eat until later in the day.
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel during the day?
During the day, I feel really focused. I actually don't even know that I'm not eating.
So that's really good. So what I would love to know is show me what your blood sugars are doing during the day and show me if you make ketones. That'll be the answer is when you have excess insulin, which is this chronic disease maker, it is what makes cancer. It is what makes high blood pressure. It is what makes debris in the brain where, call it depression or brain fog or Parkinson's. It's the aging of the brain.
It's linked to all of those things.
All of those things. And that excess insulin, nobody tells you about. But the symptoms are, dang, I feel like I got to eat every 2 to 3 hours. Their debris or their fuel keeps running out. When you say, boy, I can eat once at the end of the day and I'm pretty good. My focus stays really good. What I want you to prove is, what are your ketones during the day? So when you've got a patient who has done that, their ketones will be 0.7. 1.0. And they're taking out the trash all day long.
So there's these two energy sources. One of them's the glucose. One of them's, which is from eating pasta, which I ate last night. So that probably put a lot of glucose in my blood. I probably had a high glucose spike and then insulin came out to deal with that. And then there's ketones, which start to appear when I'm fasting or when I haven't been eating carbs for a while and my body's looking for an energy source.
Yeah.
In terms of these two energy sources, there seems to be a lot of hype around ketones.
Mm-hmm.
So why doesn't our body just run off ketones?
It will, as soon as you're done lowering your insulin. And I mean, insulin grew in these patients. They didn't know that it was growing high. They went to their blood test and their glucose looked normal. What nobody checked for years is how much of that insulating hormone did it take to keep the glucose controlled? And that's where chronic diseases are grown in spades. That's where autoimmune disorder.
The insulating hormone being insulin?
Yes.
Okay.
So that excess insulin for the last decade, had you come into my clinic, we'll put a label on it, call it PCOS, call it high blood pressure, call it autoimmune problems. All of them are linked to high insulin. Glucose, when you want to store it, we put it in a fancy string called glycogen. And it's just an efficient way to store glucose. But as soon as your body needs it, it will unlock all that sugar back into your access, back for you.
Mm-hmm.
What you don't realize is, well, how much glycogen you got stored over there? How much is there in storage? And that is what high insulin has been doing. Just put it in storage, put it in storage. And then when you stop eating, you'll know if you emptied out all your stored sugar, which is some of the regular sugar you just ate, but then all this glycogen, this packaged sugar. How empty are you? I don't know. Have you made a ketone yet? You cannot make a ketone. You cannot burn fat until that tank is empty.
Okay, so I have these glycogen stores which last for, a day or two?
Oh, no. Think of it as brown sugar. So you package the sugar really tight, and then you put it in the back of the drawer, and it turns crusty because you never lowered your insulin. I have patients that are overweight, and we put them on a ketogenic. We put them on a 20 total carbohydrates per day, so super low carbohydrate. It is 15 days before they make a ketone.
Okay, so it could be it could be up to 2 weeks, for example,
right,
before my glycogen stores are empty. And it's not until my glycogen stores, my glucose stores are empty that my body can start producing ketones.
Correct.
So it's going to exhaust all of those glycogen stores. And then once it's ran out, it's going to switch into this ketogenic state.
Right. Yeah, so think of it as your short-term, easy-to-access sugar has to decrease. And that means your insulin has decreased. That hormone for insulate, they both run in tangents. You decrease, you're emptying glycogen, your insulin's going down.
So how do I know if I have insulin resistance? What are the key signs? You mentioned skin tags. I've never had that term before.
Yeah, skin tags are not moles. So moles, you can feel this bump on your skin, right?
Yeah.
But a skin tag has a neck and like a little mushroom. And it's the most annoying thing when patients come and say, well, I just tried to cut them all off, but they kept bleeding. I'm like, do not cut them off. They'll fall off when your insulin's lower. So that's the first place. It'll be found in their armpits or places where the skin rubs, so armpits and their groin. And once insulin starts to grow them, it's like a crop a crop of little baby cauliflower hanging out in their armpits.
You talked about velvety skin
Yes.
as well being an indicator.
Velvety skin is this Latin word acanthosis nigricans, which is a fancy word that means the skin is darker and thicker. So the places it usually happens is the back of the neck. And you'll hear, stories of, I tried to wash my neck. It's dirty all the time. It's not dirt. It is the way the skin is under the curse of high insulin. And you see it in teenagers all the time now. They put on weight and their growth hormones are already doing that teenage thing. Now you put high insulin in there and they have this dirty neck syndrome. Or on the creases of their elbow, it's just darker here. That is pathology. That's not normal from high insulin.
You talked about weight changes as well. What's this thing about hairy toes that I was reading about?
Right. So as my patients age, so most of my 55-year-olds that have had high insulin, I will tell them, look at your toes. They're supposed to have hair on them. And when your body has had that high insulin state for a couple of decades now, it will start to say, we don't send resources to a couple parts of the body anymore. And the follicles in their toe are one of them. Like, you just stop growing hair on your toes. And there's an ascending problem with this, where the toe starts, then it's the ankles, then it's up to the knees, and they don't have hair anywhere on their lower extremities. It is a process that started from high insulin.
What about aging? You talked about how if you have high insulin, there'll be an impact on your aging. Now I'm thinking about, I'm getting a couple gray hairs now. I'm thinking maybe this is because of my insulin levels.
I have seen patients that have reversed their gray hair on a ketogenic diet. It blew my mind. They asked me for the reason why that happened, and I thought, well, the cells are healthier that are making your hair. That's all I got. Aging is exactly that enemy, which is they are going around the sun with more growing of the trash than they needed. So that high insulin, they don't know about it. They've not produced a ketone in years. And that chronic disease is now difficult to get the eye to clean out. It's difficult to get that brain trash removed. And you're supposed to do it every night when you sleep. It's not supposed to be behind this far. You're 2 decades from taking out the trash in your brain. That's aging.
How do I, for a start, even know my ketone blood levels?
Well, when a patient first comes in saying, how do I begin? I want them to tell me what they had for their meal and then say, how many carbs do you think that was? Because this education, like an apple is 20 grams of carbs, 15 grams of carbs for some of them. And we're going to ask you in the first 6 weeks to take your carb intake down to less than 20. 20 total grams of carbohydrates or less is where we begin. And again, I do this in a medical grade. There are people who play with a ketogenic diet, and there's people who try to reverse medical problems with a ketogenic diet. Mm-hmm. In order to do this, it is not a lazy kind of keto. You have to actually be on the same team as me using data to reverse this medical problem.
And how does one measure their blood ketone levels?
Yeah, I think blood is the best. There is a way you can measure them in urine. The burning of fat, if you turn that string of fat into ketones, there are 2 destinies for that. You either put it into a mitochondria and turn it into energy, or you pee it out. So especially when they're early in a ketogenic journey, they overshoot. Evolution said, don't let them die. Turn that fat into energy, help them through the famine. So the excess ketones they make end up in their urine. We call them ketone strips, and they're cheap and easy, and we don't have to cross that barrier of somebody pricking their finger at the beginning. So they're going to pee out ketones every day as long as they're not chronic insulin resistant.
So if I avoid carbs for a sustained period of time, which could be a couple of days, it could be up to 2 weeks, eventually my body's going to say, listen, we need energy. So it's going to start burning my fat stores.
Yes.
From some of that fat around the midsection, and it's going to start turning that into ketones, which are a different type of energy. Are there any reasons why ketone as a source of energy is better for me in terms of performance other than the insulin reasons that we've talked about? Like, are there any other parts of my body or my health that benefit from ketones?
For starters, when you're burning a ketone, there's less trash, okay? It is a cleaner fuel with less byproduct, especially as you age. So you get the longer energy and you have less debris floating around. You hear the word antioxidants all the time. Well, burning ketones is an antioxidant state. It is a And it's in the space where you need it, which is inside that cell. You swallow antioxidants and you have no guarantee that they end up where they're supposed to. So number one, the fuel is reducing trash at a cellular level. It lasts longer and it penetrates through that blood-brain barrier to fuel a brain that, even if it's insulin resistant, it can use a ketone. So the problem with somebody who's chronic insulin resistance, their brain needs a lot of glucose to stay online. And I can try to get it there, but insulin is constantly fighting that. It's a war to try and keep the glucose in their brain. My hack is ketones will go right around that. It doesn't need the same transporters to get across the blood-brain barrier, and especially to fuel those cells in the brain. So for performance, name a game where you don't use your brain. There isn't one, right? If you're looking at performance, to say, let's begin with the sharpest brains and the most focus, the most discipline, the less impulsivity. All of those things improve when that brain is being fueled with ketones.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.